Okay, guys, good morning. My name is McNeil, and I have here with me, and we are students. And I'll introduce myself and let them introduce themselves too. And then we'll spend some time introducing each other because, we'll spend the next couple of hours with each other. So we should get to know each other and what we're doing, and it will feel warm if you know that we're doing something similar or something relatable, and get comfortable. So I am McNeil. I'm in my fourth year doing a PhD in epidemiology. I am from Malawi. So I started my program in 2019 and I've been here and hopefully I'll finish next year. But I am born and bred and raised Malawi. So all of us are. You'll be getting the authentic stuff. So in Malawi, I was living in the capital city where probably more people, some people will be in, and there's more information about that. It's helpful, and I'll let Juba introduce herself too.
Hi everyone, my name is Chichewa. I'm a second year public policy PhD student from UK, and I'm also from Malawi. I used to live in a city called Zonka. I work at the university there, so there you get to hear about it. It's called the University of Malawi. So I came from there to here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is John. I'm a first year PhD student. Been here for like 9 months. Since I was here in August, and how so I worked with UNC Project Malawi for 7 years, and yeah, as you said, we did, and just make it interesting.
I bet you've never met 3 Malawians together. Oh, there's always the first time. John and I worked together at UNC Project since we graduated from college. So 7, 8 years, and we are with them since. And while we are here, we are still sort of affiliated with them and, still have connections. So what about you guys? Who are you? I put up some prompts for you as we go around introducing each other, but you can add in whatever else that you want us to know about you. So we can start from one end to you and then go through everybody.
Everyone, my name is Jack. Senior business.
Right. And you? Mm-hmm.
So I'm going
Mm. Oh, one more thing. That is not important because I'll let you continue. forget I interrupted you.
Yes.
Pharmacy student just entering my fourth year, so it's going to be third year slash fourth year. I'm going on rotation Malawi in August to get senior. What's one thing we learn about Malawi?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Okay. What was your name? What is your name? Saha. Sahana. What is it? Sonia. Okay. Great, guys. It's like I said, you can see we are going pretty much to do the same thing. We are going to have an experience in Malawi. And Skylar, you've been there last year and you're going back this year. Must be lovely. Yeah, that's it. You want to go back to Malawi. A lot of people that I've worked with really appreciate that they gain an experience that gives them an outlook of healthcare in a different environment and place than where they've grown up and used to work and do their work. So be excited, be very excited. It's going to be different and eye-opening. Malawi is, and UNC project, and all of us. Is there anyone else who is affiliated who's going to Malawi with another institution other than UNC project? Yes, UNC project is great. And it's not because I've worked there for so long. It's because it is an outstanding research institution, and you already know this, and you will see for yourself how they are set up and the opportunities that you get to work with them. And they will not be restricted to what you think you're going there for. You have a broad range of other things that will catch your attention. And please just take them in and take them along in your stay. You enjoy it. Hi, Makina and Stephanie. Can
Hello.
you speak up?
Hi, can you hear me?
And we can't hear you right now. If you can try to share. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Or write me in the text box if you can't talk through the Zoom to us. Oh, hello. They're saying hello. Yeah, somehow the audio is not coming through. And sorry, we will just go ahead, but we are happy to know that you are there, Stephanie and Makena. So we are here for you, and you heard what we have shared so far, and hopefully you are in the same boat. So introductions done. Now we get into the course. We get into what we are here for, and I'll start by introducing what we are here for. So this course is going to go through things that you find useful, and it's for people who are traveling to Malawi for various reasons. And we want to cover an overview of Malawi to understand what is there. This is new information, like the culture and how different it would be to go into another culture. We'll introduce some rudimentary phrases, ways to say hi, or terms in Chichewa that we think will be useful. So you just start getting familiar with them right now. since you're going to spend so much time hearing things, and this will be your familiarity into that field. So we'll cover some Chichewa and also provide some health and safety tips to set you up in your time in Malawi. We will email the course presentations. Do you have them yet? Not yet. We'll email them and then other materials that we can identify during the slide. There's breakfast. You all have seen that, and we are all having it, which is good, except for Makina and Stephanie, which is fine. It's just wish you are here to have breakfast with us, but we are having breakfast as we are talking. And then we have done our introductions, and we are, as you can see, already moving in the agenda. And now we will start off with our first presentation, which is Malawian history and some Chichewa language history. And I'll hand it over to John. After that, we are going to go through the other slides as they come according to this agenda. So we are set. Let's go. Ooh. Okay. No. Because it's still flipped. It's rooted on then okay. Train station. This one. Very good.
All right, so before we get to the language and everything, I just want to tell you a little bit of Malawi. What is it, who we are, and the things that you expect when you get to the country. So I'll start with a few things that you need to know, and then we'll move on from there. So by the end of this presentation, we expect that you should know the brief history of Malawi, but also you should be able to understand the basic features of Malawi, of Malawian culture. So I'll give you as much information as I can to make sure that you understand how the culture is like in Malawi. And feel free to ask me questions if you have any. All right, so let's start with the map of Malawi. So this is how Malawi is structured. We have 28 districts in the country and 4 cities. And those are distributed between the northern area and the southern area. So as you can see, there are countries in blue there. That's the northern part of Malawi. And we have the central part of Malawi, which is in yellow. And then we have the southern part of Malawi, which is in pink. Is that pink, right? Or purple? I don't know. I'm not very good. Help me out here. What's that? Is that purple? Pinky. Okay, I'm good. So yeah, so that's, yeah, so we have that. And then somebody mentioned about Lake Malawi. Well, there it is. So that's that. That's Lake Malawi. It covers part of the north up to the central part of Malawi. It's a beautiful lake. I'll tell you much about it when we get there. But then we have, as I said, 4 cities. So one city is in the northern part of Malawi. It's called Nzuzu City. And then we have those in the central part of Malawi, we have Lilongwe, of which many of you will be best because that's where UNC project is. And then there's Blantyre City, which is the commercial city of Malawi. And then we have Zomba, which was the first capital city of Malawi. Now the capital city is Lilongwe. So this is where we are in Africa. So in Africa, as you can see, we have the northern part, we have the western, the central, we are in the eastern part of Africa, and we are at that point. So we are just in between Tanzania, Zambia, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe, just next to us. So Malawi is basically a landlocked country, and we rely on our neighbors for most of the stuff. But then if you want to go visit outside the country, you should know that this is how we are situated, and that's where the other countries are in next to us, right? Are we all okay? You see where we are now? Okay, good, thank you. If somebody asks you where Malawi is, you should be able to point, right? Okay, cool, thank you. All right, so this is the history of Malawi. So the people who came to Malawi first were called the Akafula. So I don't know the exact word I should use here because this is 2023, but these were people with dwarfism. Is that the right word? It's not stereotypical, right? I try to be careful with my words. Yeah, so there were short people those are the first people that occupied Malawi. But then we had other groups of people, other ethnic groups that came and then became part of Malawi. So we had the Chichewa coming from Zaire, which is now the Republic of Congo. And this came between the 14th and the 15th century. Then we had the people, the other ethnic group known as the Ngoni. This originated from South Africa, which is the southern part of Africa, that pink area. So they also moved to Malawi. And then Congo, as you can see, it's just right over here. This is where Congo. So they moved from here to here. And the South Africans from Ngoni, they also moved and went to Malawi. Those are between the 14th and 15th century, and then the Ngoni was in the 19th century, right? So we also had the two groups of ethnic groups that came. There was the Yao and then the Lomwe. So these ones crossed from Mozambique and also went to Malawi. And then we had two other ethnic groups that also went there. There's the Tumbuka and also other tribes from Tanzania. So Mozambique is around, as you can see, Mozambique is all around Malawi. So we had people, the Lomwes and the other groups going to Malawi, but also we had the Tumbuka. They moved from Tanzania to move to Malawi. So in general, we have got different ethnic groups that actually make up Malawi. And as I said, we have the Yao, the Tumbuka, the Ngoni, the Lomwe, and all of these came from other different countries and made one nation. So in 1889, the British made Malawi a colony, and the name at that time, they named Malawi Nyasaland. So if you look in history, Malawi's name changed after some time, but before that, they used to call it Nyasaland. Even Lake Malawi was called Lake Nyasa, yeah, because there's also a brief history as how that happened. And one of the people who went and explored Malawi was Dr. David Livingstone. So he was a physician from Scotland, and he came in 1860, around that 18th century, I think. So in 1862, he visited Lake Malawi, and he was one of the people who helped abolish slave trade in Malawi. So at that time, in Malawi, there was this other big slave trader coming from there was Swahili, and yes, sir.
Could you try getting more?
Oh, okay.
The slides.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So stop sharing. How about now?
Try sharing.
It's working. Okay, great. Sorry for that. Yeah, so Dr. David Livingstone, when he came to Malawi, he actually witnessed some of the horrific things about slavery, and he saw how people were being traded. And he was one of the people who actually influenced one of the biggest slave traders called Jumbe to abolish slave trade in Malawi. So they had a negotiation in 1864, sorry, to have to abolish slave trade in Malawi. So he also was a Christian missionary. So he explored Malawi more, but then he died in Malawi and from dysentery and malaria. So at that time, I think we didn't have advanced medicine to treat malaria. Magni will talk more about the diseases in Malawi. So Malawi gained its political independence. We're looking at the transition that happened from 1963 to 1966. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more so that you understand. So there were some things that motivated the country, the people from Malawi to actually push for independence. And one of them was they wanted self-rule. They wanted to rule themselves. They didn't want any colonial influence. They also wanted to have a sense of pride as people from Malawi, and they wanted to own it. And there was also issues of prejudice. There was issues of segregation that was happening in the country between the white and the black people. In Malawi, there was a huge gap. And also, there was also external influence that was coming from other nations across the world that they needed to liberate Malawians and let them be on their own. So I don't know if you're able to see this. Is this okay? So this is, I just wanted to show you the transition of how that happened. So self-government, as you can see, we started from 1963, and then Malawi got its independence in 1964. So it's been so many years now since Malawi got its independence, and the independence was actually acquired on the 6th of July, 1964. 6th of July. So there was along the way, there was a big cabinet crisis that happened in 1964, but then Malawi became a republic in 1966. And then the first president of Malawi, who was Dr. Banda Hastings, he became the life president of the country. So at that time, there was only one party that was actually, there were not many political parties, this one. It was called the Nyasaland Congress Party, of which became the Malawi Congress Party. And this is the party that is in charge at the moment as well. It's the coalition government, but they are the ones who have got the majority. So as you can see, now we moved from, there is also a transition that happened between having a life president and moving to democracy, right? From dictatorship to democracy. So these are the transitions that happened. So this I can talk a little bit more because this time I was live. I'm quite aware of what happened. I was a very young person, but about 5 years old. But yeah, I do understand some of the things that happened here because I lived it, but not that kind. So in 1971 to 1993, there was that one party that I was talking about, which was the Malawi Congress Party, and it was led by the Dr. Hastings Banda, who was at that time the life president. But then people started looking for democracy and started fighting for democracy, that we should not be living under one rule. And in 1993, before we get to 1994, there was a referendum. The president at that time, the president said, okay, you want democracy, fine. You want to have multi-party system of government. They said, yes. But then these are the chosen few who are actually pushing for this. But now, can I hear from Malawians? So he ordered for a referendum. So people voted that they wanted a multi-party system of government. And that was in 1993. And democracy won at that time. So in 1994, around 1993, we had the elections. And in 1994, Malawi became a democratic country. So as you can see here, in 1994, the birth of democratic government. And then from 1994 to 2004, we had our first democratic president. His name was Dr. Bakili Muzi. And then he ruled from that period up to 2008. Up to 2008. But then 2009 to 2004 to 2007. It's there. 2004 to 2009 and 2009 to 2020, we had a different president. This was Bingwa Mutharika, and he was the one who took over from the first democratic president. But unfortunately, he passed on in 2020, 2012 in April. I think it was on the 5th of April, 2012. That's when we lost him. And then the vice president of the country, who was a female, Joyce Banda, took over from him. And her reign was running for, I think, should be 2 years, from 2012 to 2014. And then that was, I think, in 2014, then we had our new elections, and Dr. Bingo Mutharika's brother, Peter Mutharika, was the one who won the elections. And he continued until recently when they lost, he lost also the elections. So this transition is also interesting between 2014 to 2020 for Peter Mutharika, after Peter Mutharika, because we voted, but then there were inconsistencies within the elections. So people contested in court and we had to revote. So the first time he won, but then when people voted the second time, he lost. So now he's no longer president, and the president now is Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, who is in charge now. So the party that won this time was a coalition government between Tonse, it was called Tonse Alliance, but it was Malawi Congress Party, and the other one is UTM, United Transformation Movement. So they formed a coalition to bring down the other government, and they succeeded. So that's what we have now. So this is just a brief history from 1964 to 2020. But then for two governments, the autocratic government moved to democracy, and then the present government. So just a flashback from history. This is Dr. Hastings Kamuzu Banda, the Mbumba of Malawi. Mbumba is like your family, is it? Yeah. So these were the people, and that's our first president of Malawi. And this is our current president, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. I think this was the Millennium Convention at the United Nations. That should be last year, not this year. All right. Am I moving too fast, too slow? Am I clear? You good? Okay, thank you. So let's move on. Well, let's talk about the Malawian culture in general. Malawi, the name itself, as I said, first of all, it was Nyasaland, right? So when independence happened, they changed the name to Malawi. Malawi the name itself came from when you are at a lake in the morning and the sun rises up, right? You can see the reflection of the sun in this. It looks like fire, right? I don't know if you have ever observed this in the morning when you go to the lake, the sun is coming up and you can see the reflection of the sun in the water and it looks like fire, right? So that's where it's called Malawi Amoto, but then it's shortened it to Malawi. But then in Africa, we are known as the warm heart of Africa. And there is a reason why. We are warm to most people in our country, and we're so nice and friendly. So we are the warm heart of Africa, and that's where the name comes from. There's more details to that, and you can ask me, and I'll explain. So we'll talk about the etiquette, and we'll talk about the greetings, respect for the elders, dressing, going out, what you should expect, relationships in Malawi, and also foods. We'll go more into details about breastfeeding for women, funerals, and weddings. So these are the cultural expectations that you should be able to know from the country. So greetings. Somebody talked about greetings. I don't know, is it? Yeah. Thank you. So she touched it. So greetings are very important in Malawi. You know, when you meet people each time, greeting people is being considered as polite, but also people expect you, even if you don't say it, they'll tell you, they'll greet you just to, this is how the culture is like. Yeah. So this would mean meeting the person several times. You can meet them in the morning, meet them in the afternoon. Each greeting has a meaning. Yeah. So there's, I think Juba will go into details about this when we get to the greetings part, then you will understand what each greeting means. But then within the space of, the day, in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, you can get each type of greeting, which means different things, but also all looking towards the welfare to see how we're doing. So shaking hands shows us a very respectful greeting. So when you meet people, the same way we do shake hands, it shows that you're very respectful to the person. And so during COVID-19 times, because of the infection rate and looking at how COVID, the SARS virus was moving, some of the things had to be changed to ensure that people don't get infected. So a couple of changes were made into the greetings. So shaking hands was not was not encouraged. So they had to adapt to a different type of a form of greeting. So as you can see this photo here, I don't know if are you able to see? All right. So when ladies, when they're greeting other people, so this is how you do. If it was Juba, that means you know, like you. I ever see that? Like you greet the person. So you can see this lady what she's doing. She just done this and she this. Oh yeah, thank you. So if I am a female and then this is somebody who's male and I'm greeting them out of this, right? So that's men is different. Men is we just do. You get that? Should I do it again? Okay. For females, right? For males, you good? Thank you. Yes, the hands. Yeah.
This is-
Yeah. But go ahead.
So I was saying this is greeting someone older than you,
Mhm.
and this is greeting someone younger than you.
Yeah.
So or your age.
Yeah.
Or your friend.
Yeah. So yeah, you can tell, even you can observe them when they are greeting you. You can actually tell that this person, you can just follow. So as I said, the standstill, I just showed it. Stopping to greet someone is seen as more respectful. So if somebody is you're crossing into corridors and then you stop and say, okay, how are you? And then you continue. You have manners. That's what this person has manners. This is respectful. So they would consider that, right? All right. We just showed you how it's done. Okay. All right. So this is what happened after COVID-19. So instead of like greetings, that kind of thing, people just went and just the elbows, like, hi. You do the elbows and then, okay. Okay. Yeah. Doesn't happen much often now because we control COVID-19 these days. So yeah, it's like masks. They're encouraged but not forced. Yeah. So thing. So there is also a different thing that you need to know. For elders, there is need for respect for elders, and it's expected for most people. So in the way the society in Malawi is designed is we have got chiefs and community leaders. So these ones actually lead communities. And then we have old people within those communities. So for example, if this Giddings campus, for example, was a village, it would have its own chief, right? And that chief would be the one who's in charge. Anything happens, maybe say people have arguments with each other, need something settled, they'll go to that chief who's a village. But in among also the village would have elders who are more knowledgeable and they are seasoned in some other aspect. Even the chiefs give respect to these people. But despite that, the chief is still in charge, right? So there are also other influential leaders within those communities that you have to take note of. So as researchers, as medical people, this is something that you have to be aware of. You can't just go passing, when you're going to communities, for example, you're tasked to go to communities, you need to make sure that you understand the hierarchy of that community, know which ones are the elders, which ones are the old people, and make sure that you acknowledge them, right? Before doing any other thing there. If somebody from you are working with a Malawian or whoever is with you, when they do that, just ask them that who is I know about this, how it's supposed to start. Did you consult any elder or something? Because anything that you do outside those people, it will not be translated. I mean, it will not work in Malawi because they can decide that don't accept these people here, and then you not do anything. So you need to acknowledge that hierarchy. So elders are very important. You need to make sure that you do respect them in whatever things that you do. Dressing. So dressing is different. There's a difference in how people dress. Elders, they are more, I don't know how to describe this in English, I mean, you will help me with this. There's dressing which shows most of your skin is not encouraged. It doesn't mean that people don't dress like that, but then it incurs different meaning when they see you. and sometimes people lose respect for you depending on how you're dressing. So you need to be aware. So for example, maybe the way I'm dressing here, I don't know whether this is appropriate, but I think I nailed it. But yeah, so dressing like this, people would be okay with. But then for women, for example, I mean, men, it depends on the occasion and where you're going. For example, wearing a tank top at an event which is, serious or has people who are serious people, that would not work with most of the people. For women, showing your levels, showing part of your skin, wearing sweatpants that are so revealing, those kind of things, most people don't take kindly to that. So you need to be aware. My advice is sometimes observe how people dress when you get there, see how the environment is like, then you can adjust your life to how those people. And then when you have questions, ask them whether this is appropriate or not. That's my only advice I can give you. I cannot explain much here because, we're changing stuff. I mean, the world is changing in many ways, but then also just taking a second advice from some people that, is this appropriate for this? And then they will be able to say, you're good or you're not. So take that lesson back. Official events, mostly people expect people to be decent and smart. So I'm looking at here, for example, you have a presentation and dissemination for UNC Project Malawi, for example, somewhere, a tie, shirt, and nice, decent. Okay, you can wear a suit if you can, that's fine too. But also, just as I said, talk to your colleagues that you're working with, see if that appropriate dressing is appropriate for that environment. Okay. At a funeral, so this is very serious because at a funeral, people expect them to be very smart and decent. You are not expected to, as I said, like showing most of your skin at the funeral. Make sure you cover up as much as you can, be respectful. So that's what is expected, And usually there's a word, I think we'll get to that. I don't know if any of you have heard, it's called Chichewa. What do you call it in English? A wrap? Wrap, yes. So women wear cloth and then the wrap. I'll show you a photo, I'll find it somewhere. Women wear that, and men, I think we're okay the way I am, but then women have to wear that. Sometimes they wear a duku. I don't know if you've never heard, they wrap like the hair, something. I'll show you photos, by the way, to give you a picture so that you have a descriptive image of how people wear as a funeral. All right, are we good? Making progress? Thank you. Be sure to stop me whenever you can if you have any questions, right? All right, so going out. So going out is more fun. It depends on where you're going. So if you want to show your skin at a nightclub, that's fine. I think we don't care much because everybody wants, But then there are places that you can go to enjoy yourself. The restaurants around town, and there are places you can find local foods. It depends on also. So this is how I describe restaurants in Malawi. There is an issue of how much you're willing to pay for your food. Then you can attract a nice restaurant, but also you can attract a nice, decent restaurant also to get other foods. But then if you want local foods, there are other places where you can ask. They will provide you the local, nice, delicious Malawian food. And it's really nice, to be honest. You can go for sporting activities. The most common sport in Malawi is soccer. Football. Yeah, so football, it's very popular in Malawi. Netball is also popular in Malawi. We have other sporting activities like volleyball. So for people who be I think the scientific director at UNC will introduce you to Shark Center where people play volleyball, and UNC has a team. And the rule is you can't play a team without females in. So you need to make sure that it's all balanced when you play, and those are the kind of rules. But then, yeah, so there are other sporting active people. I think other people also play. I think it is basketball, admits frisbee. Yes, and yeah, so all these are there. It's up to you to choose which events you want to go. There are also nice stadiums for local soccer games for the league there, and there are cheap tickets that you can buy to go watch the soccer if you want to go enjoy that. There is a lot of sightseeing. Well, I don't know where to start. There's the Lake Malawi, and you can view it at different points. You can start from the north, you can go from the central. So the north, there is a district called Nkatabe. There are nice places that you can go to the lake to see. Then in the central, you have got Salima district, which is next to Lilongwe, about an hour from Lilongwe. It's beautiful, and go see that. Or you can go to Mangochi, which has also nice places to visit. Apart from the Mangochi, I mean, the lake, you can also see national parks if you're so interested to see animals. You can go see, as I said, I talked about the Akafula people that came. They did some scribbling. I mean, they drew, you know, I don't know, they're drawing their stuff at. So this place is very nice. You have to hike to get there, but then you find the stones where there are carvings for the Akafula, and it's nice historical place. And everybody wants to know about that place. I can actually tell you if you are there. If I'm there, I can take you, but then you have to hike for like 2 hours to get there. So hiking is also nice in Malawi. There are so many mountains that you can go to. The Zomba Mountain, Mwanje Mountain, and the one I'm talking about is also nice. And there's a nice mountain that also people hike into. It's just in Lilongwe, it's Bunda Mountain. It's nothing to see, but it's nice. And then you can also go to Zaranyama, which also people hike. So there are hiking groups around where people join, and they can usually go with them, and it's for free. Basically, you just have to take care of yourself in terms of food, whatever. But then, yeah, you can do that. So many places of sightseeing. It's beautiful, I tell you, and you get to enjoy them. Right? So there are official, as I said, official and community events where you'll be invited sometimes to go on official events with your team to just, you know, represent, watch presentation and all that. That's also possible, and you can visit different places. Blantyre is one of them. Of course, we have good collaborators within the area as well. Now, let's get to this. So relationships. So unfortunately, there's few things here that we haven't made progress with. So heterosexual relationships are accepted in Malawi. That's what they approve of. But then in same-sex relationships is illegal. So the rule says that if you are caught in the act of having a sexual relationship with another person of the same sex, then you can be arrested, and the maximum, I mean, sentence is up to 14 years. So there is a trick here, which most people don't see. It's that if you are caught in the act of doing it. So there have been different human rights organizations that are fighting the rule, and so far they haven't been very successful with it. But that's where we are, and there's nothing I can say much about that. So there are people who are LGBTI within Malawi, but then they don't disclose their sexual identity to most people. They just leave, except maybe for a chosen few who are fighting for the rights of which they are in that fight. So we haven't made progress in this area in summary. There's still a lot of things going on to push for this role. So don't be surprised when you find that you go to Malawi and you find that most people are resentful towards same-sex relationship. It's because the society does not approve, and there are so many legal implications to that. So I just wanted to bring you to this situation. So there are other things that happen also in a relationship. So when a man hugs another person, that's fine. It's just being friends, you know, and it's not associated with sexual relationship, because other people think that in Malawi, when people hug each other, that means maybe they have a sexual relationship, but that doesn't happen that way. It's just normal, just being friends. And even when they go out together just to have lunch, it's the same thing. It's like you're just being friends. So if for somebody to date somebody in Malawi, you have to ask them. Like if you want to go out with Juba, you have to ask Juba, I want to go out with you, right? You don't have to beat about the bush. And she can say yes or no. Yeah, and then you can move on with your life if you get rejected. So it's painful, but yeah. So yeah, so men ask, usually in terms of heterosexual relationship, men ask women, but then women don't ask men. It's not the other way around. But also, even the same as for weddings, the same thing happens. It's like you now the trend is like people propose now, even for weddings. It's good to get down on one knee to propose to their partners and then do that. So yeah. Let me bring you to the food. So please try this when you get there. I don't know about your dietary restrictions, but this is called Bisima. This is the staple food in Malawi, and it can be eaten with anything. So you can eat it with stew, you can eat it with vegetables, you can eat it with fish. So this is jumbo fish. This is our pride. Jumbo is one of the most delicious freshwater fish in sub-Saharan Africa, and I should say Africa in general, right? I'm not overselling it, but it's good, it's delicious. Try it. So this is how they prepare nsima. This is in a community, so people are preparing nsima. Maybe I don't know. I just picked this from the internet, but it should be maybe a wedding or a funeral. But it's the same procedure that happens when they're preparing it. They're using fire here, but also you can use the normal technology to prepare the nsima for. So staple food, nsima, vegetables, jumbo. Try it. It's delicious. If you can. So eating in Malawi is communal, but we have evolved as well. Tables are used. Sometimes people just take the plates and eat themselves. But then when you go to the communities, like in the villages, the community eating, this is basically what happens. So you can see how females are sitting and the males are sitting here. And this, my friend who is an Arsenal fan there, he's enjoying himself, even though they have lost the league. But this is what happens when you're eating in a community, right? So sit down and eat. So if you go to, usually you observe this at weddings, funerals, because there's no time for all those procedures where you have a table and you arrange everything. It's just eat and then proceed with the program and then go to the cemetery for burial. So usually we observe this. Let's get to breastfeeding. So almost all children, like about 97% are breastfed for some period. And a few people practice exclusive breastfeeding. So this is the situation there. And breastfeeding is a norm in Malawi. And usually most people would expect you to breastfeed your child. So there are no restrictions on where to breastfeed, like the places that you can go breastfeed your child. People, if the child is hungry at that time, they just start breastfeeding there. It's basically that's how the situation is like. So don't be surprised when you see that maybe the child is crying or needs to be fed. A woman breastfed the child there, and then it's basically culturally accepted. People have no problems with that.
I think this as a man, the impact that no one covers in this.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go anywhere, cover themselves. The road, but anyway, so don't be
Don't be shocked.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thanks so much, Julia, for saying that. Yes. So don't be shocked. It's just like that. Funerals. So funerals are serious in Malawi, so it's an emergency. There are cultural and religious expectations. So when somebody, for example, you would see this, maybe, it is what it is. People die, and then you find that maybe their colleagues have lost a relation. Usually they'll take that something serious. They would not come to work. They have to make sure that they follow out the processes and everything. So you shouldn't be surprised when you see that some of the people that you work with, when they have lost their relations, they will not continue working, or maybe a bunch of people will go to support them. It's okay. It's culturally accepted in Malawi. Funerals are a very serious thing. And as I said initially, like, dressing is key. You make sure that for women, you need to make sure that you dress appropriate. For men as well, you also need to dress appropriate. So there are also religious associations with this. Malawi is not, how should I say this? There are different dominations in Malawi in terms of like Christianity, but also there are people who are Muslims, and there are also cultural religions. Cultural religions, yes. So all these balance are depending on what the person believes in, and when we go to funerals, we just make sure that we support the people. So that's how situations are. And usually, I think the normal process is when somebody passes on, usually that means that the people go to the mortuary to wait for the embalming of the person, and then they escort the person to the home where the person was staying. And usually there's a church service. If it is not a church service, it's cultural, like the Chichewas, that means they will do cultural practices. And after that, they go to the cemetery. I think usually after 1 p.m. And then by 3, they're coming to the cemetery, everybody goes home. But the family remains so that they can actually talk about how to proceed after the death of that person. All right. So how do you recognize that there's a funeral and the people are mourning? So usually there are whistles blowing. So they say there is a funeral, somebody, or maybe this person from this family has passed on. And usually that is followed up with all women, let's go and gather at the place to cook for the guests for the funeral, right? And most of the times, also just to add to that, if you're passing in a community where you have leaves, like usually they'll put on the road from one side of the house where the funeral is at. So for example, this is my house, right? Or maybe this is my block where my house is. They'll put the leaves at the beginning and at the end just to demarcate my house, and you would know that there's a funeral. Sometimes there is a plate there for condolences, and usually it's the form of money. So when you pass that, there are such kind of leaves, apart from construction work being done, you should understand that there is a funeral going on. And you would observe many people coming, and women will be in black, and that you know that there's a funeral happening in that place, right? And also there are condolences that are given to the family of the person who was died. Usually they are in the form of money. So if it is at the workplace, for example, people do gather a little bit of condolences, put them together in an envelope, and they give the person who's as the person, is related to the person who's deceased as condolences. And they come in the form of one name. For example, if it is UNC, we'll go into UNC condolences, right? If it is maybe say Martin Juba and myself, it will go in both of our names. Oh, we as a group from Malawi at UNC, we send our condolences and we give you the money, right? And then if you accompany people who have gone, usually the condolences also go after, beyond this. So there's a period for people to mourn. Usually, I think it goes on for some time. Usually, it used to be 40 days, but usually now it's a bit less than that. But then after the death of that person, people do gather and go to the person just to hear what happened to the person who died, and also just offer their condolences, and it's followed by prayer and then handing over the condolence money. Okay. Yeah, the idea is because when you lose somebody, you spend a lot of money to feed many people. So they just like put back the money that you have wasted. You have spent on that funeral. Yes, I think that's it. If I remember, I'll come back to it. So for weddings, these are beautiful. These are social cultural aspects of weddings. These are get together by families, so most people come. Oh yeah, I just remembered. So for funerals, you don't get invites. Everybody goes. Okay. It's not that somebody will ask you like, no, why did you get an invite to come here? No, it's by once you hear that somebody has lost somebody, we go there to support a person. There's no invite whatsoever. You just showed up. And usually when something that also happens to you, people come to support you. So no invites, whatever. If you don't show, it's fine. But if you're part of the community and then you don't show up and something happens to you, people won't show for you. So you'll be alone. So it's also an obligation, because people try as much as they can to support the person, because they don't want to be alone when something like that happens to them. So yeah, something like that. So weddings are embraced by everybody. You have big families, your friends. So weddings, you have invites, and invites that are sent to guests. But then the thing is, those people who get the invites are the ones who get to sit on the tables. Like they'll have special seats, not specifically assigned to them, but they just show up and then find a place to sit. But usually the invites work. But now I think they no longer account for that. Yeah, usually if people send invites, maybe just to their colleagues, whoever they value most as official people. But then everybody who is your family, friend, knows that yes, I have a wedding. They already know that they are invited. Come to support me. So there are two types of marriage systems in Malawi. So there's matrimony and then there's patrimony. So the central and the southern, they follow the matrimonial type of marriage. Do you know what that means? So this one, the matrimonial type is like succession comes through the mother, right? And the patrimonial, it's through the father. So in this way, it's like, am I right? Yes. Yeah, good. So for example, among the Chewas, explain this. Among the Chichewas, for example, Magnio and I, we are brothers, right? And I am, in matrimonial, I am responsible for his kids, and he is responsible for my kids. So anything that happens to his kids, people call me. And anything that happens to my kids, people call him Machi. So I can have as many kids as I want. He'll be responsible for educating them, taking care of them, you know. That's the burden that he has. But also when he has kids, his brothers are responsible for that. While the patrimonial type of system is you are responsible for, and then the succession is through the father. So if it is chieftainship, for example, in the patrimonial type, that means if I am the chief, my son is the one who takes over. But in the matrimonial, if I am the chief, that means my sister's kid is the one who takes over. The idea is that the blood, if you came from the same womb, that means you are of the same blood and you are all loyal, compared to when you trusting that my wife gave birth to my son. Maybe she had a relationship with another person, and that person, oh, yeah, so that's how it works. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. All right, we're almost at the end. So this is a hospital setting. So this is where most of you are going to be, right? So doctors and hospital personnel are highly trusted. So if you come to a hospital and you give advice to your patient, they will trust your advice. And this is a tricky thing as well. For foreigners, expectations are really high because the expectations that you are more knowledgeable, you have the technology, the nuance to tell the people that whatever they have is actually, you know, something they can believe in. So you should know that even though you're training, you're still in training, they'll trust your advice quite more. So working with your colleagues who are experienced in the area is also vital because you don't want to make wrong decisions. I can tell you how to do your job, but yeah, so you should know that people really do have trust in you. And when you tell them stuff, they know that they're going to believe them 100%. But generally, anybody who wears a dust coat and walks within the corridors of the hospital is considered a doctor, and you give bad advice, they'll believe you. Because that's how the hospital is structured like. So, as I said, there's no distinction between personnel. That's basically what I'm saying here. Like when you see somebody in the hospital, to them, everybody qualifies as a doctor. Like the distinctions that you know here, that you are a pharmacist, you are a dentist, you are a physician, you're a surgeon, we are the ones who know that. But to them, all of you are on the same level. You're doctors. So basically, advice that you give is run good. All right. So you need to make sure that whenever you're working, you should have that in mind, that this is how the things work there. Okay. So there are some other issues that happened in Malawi that most people are not very comfortable with. For example, when you talk of issues of STIs, they are so secretive. Initially, for example, for HIV testing, we used to have dark rooms, like you have a dark corridor where people could go to. They don't want to be seen if they are HIV positive and they're receiving ART medication. So like ART medications is for free in Malawi. So if you are HIV positive, treatment is for free. But then people who receive treatment, initially, people used to have stereotypes towards anybody who is living with HIV. So they used to create those dark corridors where people wouldn't see each other, but then to access the medication, right? Are you following what I'm saying? So, but now it's because it's secretive. Because if you have an STI, people don't want people to know that. So you need also to make sure that when you are dealing with patients and anybody you see, make sure that you keep their information as confidential. You can talk among colleagues, that's fine, because you're trying to come up with decisions. But then even in the hospital setting, don't like, oh, so how is the medication treating your syphilis? You know, that kind of thing. And everybody hears outside. It's not appropriate. Okay. So some of this also, as I talked about, is also beliefs about oxygen therapy. Do you know much about this?
Yeah. Once people come in, we get presentation.
Yeah.
So you get to see very who you wonder where or they were born and the hospital so far, or just behavior. So they come in very sick, and with toxic therapy, people want to get on hospital therapy, even though you are a clinician or hospital person know that these people need hospital. But because when they get there, they're too sick, they die.
Yeah.
People associate that. So they don't. When you mention, oh, we are going to have to provide hospital, then oh,
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, cool. Yes. They would.
some people it's not
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, the health-seeking behavior is a problem in Malawi. Actually, it's more severe. I mean, it's more worse among men than females, right? Women go to seek health care more frequently than men. Men usually go there when they are on a wheelchair, like when you're at the end, because they think they're fine, but also the fear of the unknown. Like, what are you going to tell me? Am I dying? Am I not dying? You know, kind of thing. So people's like, I rather don't know. And then when you go there, you still find out that you're not aware. So, all right. So this is we are at the end. So these are the kind of uniform nurses we're at UNC hospitals. I mean, not UNC, but Malian hospitals. Doctors, same thing, the white coat, and they move around quite fine. Dentist is the same, white coat, so you're okay. If you see people wearing this kind of uniforms, you can see here, like this is the female uniform. This is also the same uniform with the what you call this, navy blue bottom. Yes. For men, it's the same way. You can see that with the navy blue. So you see somebody wearing something like this, you should know that that person is a nurse. But we also have patient attendants. They wear usually, I think it is light green. Yeah, so those ones in government hospitals they wear like in public hospital. I mean, in private hospitals they wear pink. So those are just patient attendants. And those are their uniforms. So you should know the demarcations between those two. All right. That's the end. Any questions? So much information. I try to condense it as much as I can. But I am available if you need me to ask more questions. I can answer anything that you want. If I can, that is. All right.
I'll get this is people visiting some of
Thank you, Zigomo. Right. We'll get to that. So McNeil will talk about some of these things. I just went through all of them, but then when most of you will be in the hospital settings, he was just going to describe how the hospital settings are designed in Malawi and what you should expect. And some of you have seen them before, but some of you will be the first time. He'll go into that detail quite well and be able to understand how it works. Okay? All right, cool. Thank you.
Work hard, you can stretch. Okay, so I'll briefly talk about culture humility, but because of time, I would rather focus on the end part where we're going to be practicing the Chichewa speaking. So I will we'll share these slides and I'll just pick some points where I wanted to elaborate on or talk about. So as we know, we are going to a place where some of us have visited, others it'll be the first time, and everything can be shocking in a positive or negative way. So I would like you all to be open-minded. You will see quite different things than you have ever seen, things you didn't expect, especially an example is the breastfeeding. You'd be like, okay, what is going on? Why are women just walking around with their boobs out? But it's no more, no one bats an eye if they see a child within sight. But if you don't have a child, you can't have your boobs out. But at the end of the day, it's things that people are used to, and you will also get used to. You will question some things, but your colleagues that you have there can also elaborate or explain some things that you might have questions about. So we're comparing culture to an iceberg. What we see at the top is not really what is underneath. There's a lot more that is going on in terms of the expressions that people have, the social etiquettes, the eating habits that John has talked about. He gave an example about people eating, sitting down, communal. You will not be expected to do that. It's not like people are like, oh, come do this. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm not sitting down sometimes and eating with everyone, but it's your choice. So at the end of the day, it's just a matter of politely saying, declining the offer. They will invite you. So don't be feeling obliged that, oh, if I say no, then people will be offended. I just have to sit and eat with them. No, you don't have to. So you can say, no, I'm full. Okay, it's a lie. Maybe you're hungry, but you don't say, no, I don't want to. People get easily offended if you say no to their food, but they find it okay if you say, no, I'm full already. So white lie, but it'll get you out of the situation where you don't have to participate if you don't want to. But if you're being adventurous, you can go ahead, sit with them and eat with them. But also you can ask for most places offer you your own plate. You don't have to eat in a communal setting. Most people don't really do. I don't know who is working in communities. Who is going to, is any of you working in communities? You are? Okay, so yeah, you will see a lot of that. At the hospital, you might not because you're working somehow in a professional setting, but then the ones who will be going to the communities is where you will now see firsthand all the things that we're talking about communal life and all that. But don't feel pressured. You can decline. Yeah? Okay. Other things, I like to compare things we think we know that look the same, but we interpret them differently. We see this as chocolate, right? So what do you think about when you see chocolate? Yummy. What else? A treat? Yeah. But then other people see it as, okay, not a treat, but energy. I need this for energy, maybe sugar levels. Other people see it as an indulgence, like, yeah, it's a treat. You're happy about it. Other people see chocolate and they think of sex, all of that. So all of the things that you think you might know and have a different understanding on, other people might also see those same things, but then they don't interpret them the same way that you do. So I want us to really have that in mind when we're going to this place, that we have our own prejudices, beliefs, and we have heard a lot of things, but things might be different from the way we expect them to be. They might not just be the way we believe them to be. There's also an example of this tattoo. You see a tattoo, we have different opinions about it, but the same tattoo could be seen as a trendy thing. The same tattoo is a traditional thing. It's not a trendy thing, it's a traditional thing. But then it's pretty much the same thing. How you look at it, how you interpret it is different. So the emphasis here is that let's just be respectful of other people's beliefs, other people's ways of doing things. We will be shocked, but we might be pleasantly surprised. And then it's also a learning process. At the end of the day, respect is important. Learn. You're going to educate yourself in so many ways. You'll come back and then you'll give that experience to other people who also, when they go, they will rely on you to give them a background of things. So you have learned, you have educated yourself on things that you didn't know about, or how people in the other part of the world do things. And then you've exercised your humility, you reflect on the things, your experiences, and then you've been open to it. Because even just you going here, I think you're not being forced to go, but it's an open experience. You're going to learn, and it will really be wonderful. I would like to finish this off by some lessons that I think we need to take away when we're thinking about cultural humility. Don't assume everyone is the same. People are different. Familiar behaviors may have different meanings. What you think of as normal behavior may only be cultural. Don't assume that what you meant is what was understood. Especially you guys as a foreigner, sometimes you might say something and then people might interpret it in a different way because someone else has to interpret it for you, to especially those in the communities, or you're speaking to a patient. So sometimes it doesn't hurt to repeat over and over again to make someone else understand better, because they might just understand things differently. And don't assume what you understood is what was meant. Just language barriers. It's expected when we go to a place where people speak different languages. But then also, Americans have a different accent. So when you go, you hear people speak English, it's an official language, but you might speak too fast for them. It's okay to slow it down. Please make it a point to slow down. Because yes, you speak very fast, and then you might find that your colleagues are not really, they might not be open enough to tell you that speak slowly, but also you don't speak slowly like, no, just normally, but at least you've toned it down. And then you don't have to like the different behavior, but understanding where it comes from may help you respond in a sensitive way. Like I said about the food, it's different. You don't have to eat, but you appreciate that they are offered, you were given, you say thank you, and you pass. So it's just things we need to think about before we go. At the end of the day, most people behave rationally. You just have to discover the rational aspect of it. I think people are not originally trying to be spiteful or anything. The ones in the communities, if you're a different color, you will find that children are very excited to see you. So they'll be running or calling you Azungu. Azungu is white person. So they get excited. And it's really just curiosity and seeing someone who's different from them. Or even when you see patients, mostly kids kids react differently. Some are excited, some just cry because they don't know why you're different. But it's really not coming from a bad place. It's coming from curiosity or seeing something that they haven't gotten used to. Just be open-minded about it. Don't think that people are being racist or anything. They're just really curious or excited that you're different. Any questions? Yeah? Okay. If not, then Mike Neil will talk about the medical aspect of things, and then we will practice Chichewa.
How are you doing on Zoom? Everything good? You can see? Just checking in on you since you can't talk to us. Just to let you know that we are fine here too. We just finished breakfast. And then we'll have lunch towards the end. We still wish you could join us, but here we are. Okay, so our next foray is into the healthcare system and some common diseases that you'd see in Malawi. It's a different healthcare system. The US is, from my experience and having been in the hospitals, very advanced, mind-blowing. everything works as it should. I haven't seen broken equipment lying around the hospitals. I haven't seen things that are not meant to, sometimes you find things that don't work, but they're there forever. You get a lot of that. You wonder, why is it still here? But it's been there for 10 years. It's just sitting on the corner, like a broken printer or broken thing just lying around. I haven't seen that. So that's how different, that's like a visual difference on the US healthcare system and Malawi healthcare system. But going into the actual details, we are going to review the structure of the health system and review common diseases in Malawi. So Malawi has population has just hit 20 million, and 85% live in rural areas. And the rest, or the urban areas, are the 4 cities and some towns. Most of them the size of Chapel Hill, perhaps. And those are the urban areas. The rest of the people live in the rural areas. So the government pretty much provides everything healthcare service related. So 63% by the government. A big chunk is also provided by Christian hospitals. There is a group of hospitals that formed the Christian Health Association of Malawi, and they provide 37%, and most of them are in rural areas, and they work hand in hand in government. It almost feels like the same system, but they're managed differently. And where UNC project is right inside a government facility. So that's what you'll be dealing with. And a small fraction for wealthier people, or at least the middle class, like me, I would go to a private hospital. But because I'm already working in the hospital, I'll still go to the public hospital. But people who who don't want to go to the public hospital because it's full, the service is slower, so they go to the private hospital. But there are few. It's a 3-tiered system. And by 3-tiered, I mean that they organized it such that one tier is in the community and refers to the next tier and refers to the next tier. So primary care is provided in the community, and then secondary care, the larger hospitals, rural hospitals, and tertiary care is provided in these 4 cities. I think they're 4 big hospitals, and they provide the major surgeries, the major medical interventions, the major cancer treatment, and they get all the referrals. So being at Kamuzu Central Hospital, where UNC project is, you are going to see referrals. You're not going to see typical sick people. You're going to see sicker people who are coming in from other places and are being referred up the system. So you should just have that understanding that it's just a small piece of the iceberg, and most of the care happens in the primary care. If you compare the proportion of people who attend primary care versus who get to go to Kamuzu Central Hospital to see you at the tertiary hospital, very few. Most people will be treated in the lower levels of the system. And the lower levels, the lowest unit in treating people are called the health surveillance assistants. So there are many people, and I have the next slide is about the health surveillance assistants. These are just people who are living in the same community, and they're prescribing paracetamol, acetaminophen, they're prescribing antimalarial drugs, they're prescribing family planning, they're prescribing immunization and vitamin A supplementation. With their bag, they just walk from one home to another. Hello, I am from the hospital. I'm here to immunize your child. Then they give them. And when people are sick, they go to these people first in the villages because they are their neighbor. And then these health surveillance assistants run village clinics. So this village clinic could be under a tree in the village. Every Tuesday, or under 5 clinics will show up. And then afterwards, they wrap up and then go. These village clinics also exist with outreach centers. I guess all these are the same type of setup run by the health surveillance assistants. And I think the higher cadres in the healthcare system start here in the health centers, which can be run by nurses or medical assistants or clinical officers. All of these are different cadres within the Malawi health system. So these are the higher cadres of healthcare. The health assistants typically get 3 weeks training. These ones will then get to college, train at college, and then proceed from the people who man the health centers. These people refer to the rural hospitals. That's where the doctors are. That's where some cesarean sections happen. That's where some orthopedic procedures happen. It's a bigger hospital, bigger facilities, bigger resources. So they refer to any complicated case to the rural hospitals. Difficult births, they refer. And then the rural hospitals refer to the district hospitals, which are bigger. That's where you find actually the specialists in cardiovascular interventions, or the obstetrician and gynecologist, or the physician, or anyone else who spent an extra 4 years after school to specialize in a field. Or the pharmacist will also be in the rural hospitals. And then the district hospitals and the referral hospitals are the higher referral points in the system. And you can see the numbers here. They tend to form a pyramid because of how it's set up. This is in the community. All this is considered to be in the community. And there are many of them, as you can see. And there are only 4 tertiary hospitals and 23 district hospitals. So it's a pyramid, and you refer up. People sometimes jump, like you are sick, you have a fever, you go to the tertiary hospital. They're really trying to stop that and tell people that when you have a headache, don't come to the central hospital, go to anything else in the primary healthcare system. But it's referral, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes people jump the queue, but the idea is the same. So health surveillance assistants serve in the community, they live in the community. They are ordinary people who are qualification is be able to speak English and to work. So they are chosen within the community. No special pre-qualification required. They go through a 12-week training, and then they are told to prescribe. When someone says they have a fever, give them paracetamol. When they say they have a fever, test them for malaria and give them malaria drugs. You can immunize, you can provide short jab for something, but it's just a list. They're given flow sheets, and then they're really not very medical or technical. You can't really discuss a case with them, but they know that the schedule of immunization is this. So they go around the village immunizing the kids, or providing whatever family planning. If a woman comes to them requiring family planning, they'll have it in their house, in their bag. When it runs out, they go to the higher center to collect and come back in the village, and they'll continue doing that. So they are very integral to the health system, and they are almost do the backlog of COVID vaccination. They did it all. It wasn't done in the hospitals. These people are the ones that went out to vaccinate the community. So they're very integral, and these are some of their activities. Major challenges in the healthcare system is that generally, everywhere there's a shortage of resources. Less money, less drugs, less staff, less infrastructure, not enough for everybody. People complain that they don't get enough care. Their drugs have run out. The hospital is too full. There's no space. They've been sent back. The doctor is not there. He resigned. He moved to the private hospital. He moved overseas. He's in training in the US. And now there are those challenges, and those are growing chronic challenges that have happened before, and they continue happening. They're not going to stop now. You're going to see them for yourselves. They take a while. They've been there for a long time. And it's just a tough environment to work in. I'm a medical doctor. I have seen this, and it's tough. Sometimes you work and you burn out, but you have to keep going, because if it's not you, then no one else is helping these people. And you can see 100 patients a day, and all of them are waiting outside when you show up for work. So if you don't finish that line at 4, these people have to travel back 2 hours to their home and come back the next day. So you can't just do it and you just go along, you just do what you can. So there's a chronic shortage of any resource that is available, and it's a big problem. And somehow we're managing, but it's a big problem. Common diseases in Malawi. I'll go through this list of diseases just to orient you about what most people present with at the hospital. First and foremost is HIV. It's not the biggest problem that Malawi has at the moment, but it has been the biggest problem that Malawi has had since the epidemic began in the 1980s. And it killed and disseminated communities and families. Everybody has had someone who died of HIV in their family. Everybody has been affected somehow. At its peak, I think there were 100,000 deaths a year. Right now, there are 12 deaths, and that is a big improvement. So it's very controlled right now. It's not a big problem, but it used to be. And funerals and songs about HIV wiping up villages in the 1980s, early 1990s and 2000s was common. But we have had antiretroviral therapy and a very good treatment program for HIV. The Malawi HIV treatment program is 5-star. And I say 5-star because it is the pioneer of many interventions that have been introduced. So Malawi has been an early adopter of any intervention. ART for all, ART for CD4 threshold, antiretroviral therapy for all, antiretroviral therapy for once you get an HIV diagnosis. That didn't used to be the case. Antiretroviral therapy for all pregnant women, treat as many people as possible. Antiretroviral therapy for marginalized groups such as men who have sex with men, that is where the problem is right now. Everyone else is controlled, but men who have sex with men and sex workers are the last group of people who need to be reached with access to HIV services. So Malawi has been a pioneer, and we have a very good HIV program. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a population of 20 million, about 1 million people are living with HIV, 62,000 people, children from age 0 to 14. The other prevalence at the highest, it used to be, what was the highest we had? 18%? Highest other prevalence of HIV. Yeah. 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 And I mean, 18% of people had HIV, but now it's down to 8.1% and it's going down. I think the next big survey that they're going to have, it's going to be 7 or 5%. So the problem is getting better. And it's worse in certain hotspots. It's not the same in all areas, but it's high in Lilongwe and the big cities because they're urban areas, less high in the rural areas. The main mode of transmission is heterosexual contact. Mother-to-child transmission used to be 10%, used to be the main mode of transmission. Oh, no, not the main mode of transmission. It used to be important, but when a woman has HIV and she's pregnant, there's only now a 2% chance of passing it on to the child because the woman, every pregnant woman is on antiretroviral therapy. So that is very protective. And blood transfusion and other body fluids and also homosexual contact. Like I said, the HIV prevalence is high in sex workers and men who have sex with men. But again, a lot of people are on antiretroviral therapy. The main drivers of HIV transmission, then it was a lot of cultural thing. And as you can see from the list, sex, a lot of unprotected sex, cultural practices like marrying more than one more wife or just having more than one relationship at a time was also big. It's different from here. I think the literature that I've read or somewhere is that there are more sexual relationships that happen at the same time culturally in Malawi and other Southern African countries that fueled the transmission of HIV as opposed to still having many sexual partners but one at a time. That happens in other societies, like the more Western society. Don't take my word on that too, because I don't know Western society. Maybe this happens in Western societies too. But cultural practices fueled the transmission of HIV a lot. Women disempowerment has also been a big thing because women don't make decisions. They cannot demand safe sex. They cannot demand, they go into a, it's just disempowering that it's a patriarchal society. So that sort of removes autonomy, and women do not have a say a lot in sexual matters. And that used to be the case. Yes. And all this, I think, it relates to what is listed on this slide. And it continues here. It's just, I mean, every conversation we've had, it ends up being a cultural thing and, something that we've had to deal with. And it's less now. This was important before, but I feel like the situation is much better now in a modern society. So know this, but don't be disheartened by this. It is not how it is going at the moment. And Malawi is pretty much on track to meet the global goals of eliminating the HIV epidemic by 2030. The 1990, you should know this. If you're working there, you hear a lot about it. The 95 goal targets means that 95% of people, like Malawi, is by 2030, our goal is to test of all the people who are living with HIV in the country. The goal is to test 95%. They should know their status. 95% of people who are living with HIV should know their status. 95% of the people who know their status should be on antiretroviral therapy. 95% of the people who are on antiretroviral therapy should be suppressed, should have suppressed viral load. That means the HIV should not be detected. They should be adherent to their medication. So they're called the 95 targets, and the goal is to eliminate transmission by 2030. We are getting there. It's exciting. Malawi, I think we are meeting these targets. Huh? Yeah. So pretty much everybody is on antiretroviral therapy. So they're doing very well. And as you can see, the death rates have reduced. And yeah, this is what I was saying. Right now, 91% of people know their status. 86% of the people who know their status are on antiretroviral therapy. And 81% of people who are on antiretroviral therapy are taking their medication well, and they're suppressed. So exciting. The other big disease is malaria, and this is very important in children under 5 years old. It's a big cause of death, and in pregnant women. So it is caused by a parasite transmitted by mosquitoes, and it is endemic, happening throughout the year in Malawi. It peaks in the rainy season, and it is more in places that have water bodies like around the rivers and the lake, and also in the tea estates, I think, because it's just humid there and the mosquitoes thrives there. So there are hotspots around the country where malaria is important. But it is a big deal because it is a main disease in under 5 children and pregnant women. I don't remember the last time I had malaria. It's been a long time. But it's because I'm an adult male. And an adult female who is not pregnant also does not really get malaria a lot. But pregnant women and under 5 children, they just get a lot of malaria. So it's a risk for them. And it's one of the big diseases that the country is dealing with. And the symptoms are shivering, fatigue, malaise, joint pains, muscle aches, loss of appetite, lack of energy, vomiting, diarrhea. Jaundice, it's a systemic disease. So it affects a lot of body areas, and it is well treated in hospitals. Don't worry if you get it, if you feel symptoms and if they find you with malaria, the treatment is very good and effective. They'll give you treatment for 1 or 2 days, 3 days, and then in a week you're fine. So any hospital will do malaria test. They will be able to diagnose and treat, and it's always at the top of the suspicion of your working diagnosis list. And in severe, like I said, you get oral anti-malarial drugs. In severe cases, you get an IV drip when you can't take oral medication. But again, easily treated, and it's fine. Rainy season is November to April. Yeah. If you are in the PIDS ward, remember this. Remember this. You'll be running around collecting blood transfusion to go to transfuse a child who has an HB of 2, and they're still alive, but they had heart failure. So you are running to the lab, and once you hook that blood up, in 4 hours they're fine. They just need blood, and blood can also be a challenge to get. But you'll be running around looking for blood to transfuse that child who has an HB of 2. The other big disease are diarrhea diseases, and again common in young children, and they happen a lot. And it's mostly the viral gastroenteritis, and in some cases they can be fatal, and they, especially when they don't present in good time to the hospital. And for adults, usually it's mild, possibly just food poisoning. Like here, I wouldn't say it's any different like what you'd get here. It's just food poisoning. But sometimes you get a fever and blood in stool, and that requires further hospital workup at the hospital, and might need antibiotics for treatment of that kind of diarrhea. And prevention is just general hygiene, and don't get diarrhea by general hygiene. COVID-19 is not an issue anymore. Like John said, it's under control. Life has gotten back to normal. It's the usual advice that applies for not spreading and preventing a COVID infection. The other important diseases that you would find, those are the big ones. The other ones that are also around are nutritional deficiencies, such as kwashiorkor, marasmus, stunting, and the STIs. Tuberculosis is big, and most of it is HIV related. A big thing, like here, the prevalence of non-communicable diseases, so hypertension, diabetes, and obesity are rising. The cancers are a big deal, where you will be at Kamuzu Health Central Hospital is a center for cancer care. So you get a lot of cancer activities happening. And there are also some tropical neglected diseases around the lecture area. And those are not a problem, but just worth highlighting that they can happen. They're not too big. And that is it on the common diseases in Malawi. So right now we are done. We're halfway through. The next section is going to be the Chichewa. Yeah, for the healthcare system. I have one presentation before I hand over to this Chichewa section, and this is quick. Have you all received the UNC handbook for trainees? Yeah, this book. I think we will include it in the resources that we send out, but it's really good. And I think they'll give it to you when you get there or at one point. I just thought I could highlight a few things that are worth mentioning. This is the training book, and its table of contents is this useful stuff. You see? Useful information. And because it is a big PDF document, I don't want to go through it all. But what I want to do is highlight a few sections in this book. And I'm going to send it out for you to go through. It is for you if you are visiting UNC project. But I just wanted to highlight, as you can see, it is quite comprehensive on airport pickup, your arrival in Malawi, logistics, airport pickup, how you practice and register to practice in Malawi, and some budgeting things that you would want to think about in your trip to Malawi. And yes, more money stuff, more cash stuff. But what I wanted to say was after that, when you get in, is that you can get your cell phones in Malawi. And in Malawi, you register your phones from agents and you just need your ID. And when you register, they give you a SIM card that you put in your phone. You find these people at the airport. First thing you come out, you can do that. And then you can activate your card by buying $10 worth of airtime. And that's usually enough to make calls. And you buy internet bundles. The expensive, I think, would be maybe $50. And you'll be getting 50 GB of internet bundle. And then you can use that. So once that ends, you buy another one. You know, it gets expensive. It is expensive internet access. Malawi has one of the highest rates of internet costs in the world. So it is expensive, but it is there all the time. So you'll be able to use the internet however you want. And the next thing I wanted to highlight is that your phone needs to be unlocked, or you need to get a local phone to use that SIM card. And this is because of the restrictions of phone locking that you have in the US. So you need to make sure to get your phone unlocked here, or you'd have to buy a phone at home in Malawi. If you go there with an unlocked phone, it just means that you won't be able to make local calls, but you can still connect to the internet. And you have to download WhatsApp. Do you use WhatsApp? Yeah, you have to. Most people, some people I've met don't use WhatsApp because here texting SMS is still a big deal, but not in Malawi. People don't text SMS a lot. They use WhatsApp. So you get it anyway. I don't need to tell you this. You find out yourself. You would have to get WhatsApp. And airtime, you're not subscribed for a postpaid plan like here, where they take money out of your account every month. You actually get to buy airtime from the street vendors. Some of them will be walking around with airtime vouchers, and then you call them and you buy and you put it in your phone. And that's how you recharge your phone with airtime. So UNC project has internet while you're on site, and the guest house where you're going to stay, so you'll be covered. But when you get out to the wards, to the hospitals, there's no internet. That's when you need your phone. And the other thing is that you might have to use your phone as a hotspot to connect to your internet, to your laptop, because it is here, internet is everywhere. There, it is not everywhere. Once you get home or at work, that's where there is internet. Everywhere else, there's no internet. And another thing I wanted to highlight from this document is the transportation. The UNC project vehicles are available for hire to take you to where you're doing your studies and away from the KCH campus. So they'll tell you more about this. If you're staying at the guest house, there are common pool vehicles that you can just get and go get some groceries and other supplies and come back for common use for everybody, every guest at the guest house. And some people buy their own cars if they are going to stay for a long time, which is advisable because public transport is a hassle, and getting from one place to the other really needs a car, and a personal car is a big thing. So people who are staying for longer might want to consider. And if you don't want to buy a car, don't buy a car. It's not a must, but some people do. And if you don't have a car, then you can use the project resources, but you figure your way out. I didn't have a car. I figured, so it's okay. And there's a note about driver's licenses that you need to get an international driver's permit, which you can get in 10 minutes from the internet. And with that, you don't need to get a local driver's license. And in Malawi, you drive on the left lane of the road as opposed to the right lane here. So you have to get used to driving on the other side of the car and being on the other side of the being on the passenger seat here as opposed to the driver's seat. And the general advice on road safety are the same, but to note that Malawi has a very high rate of road accidents, and a very high rate of fatalities from road accidents because the roads are narrow, the roads have potholes, the roads are full of people, and people don't drive as well as people drive here. I know because I've noticed. I've lived here and I've lived in Malawi. So people don't drive as well as they drive here. They don't follow the rules. There are no markings. There are no signs. The roads are narrow. So you just have to be more careful and follow the general road safety rules that will keep you safe. And there's more information about local customs and etiquette that we have discussed here. And there's some Chichewa, useful Chichewa phrases that Juba is going to go over, and more info on dress code and also general personal safety. And they are the same general advice you can get. Just keep yourself safe. So nothing out of the ordinary. And finally, I wanted to note I want to highlight this note that they have put up for women to say that sometimes here people are nice and they are also smiling, and it doesn't mean that they are interested in you and in a relationship, but it's easy to misinterpret that if you are nice and they think that you're being nice because there's some interest. So like what that paragraph is saying, just be straightforward if you notice that that's a thing, and say that, okay, I don't want your advances. So they'll stop. Malawians are quite differential and respectful. So just in case you get a situation where someone thinks that your friendliness is a sign of interest, then just tell them that no, and then they'll stop. There's more information for visitors here. Mina, Cecilia, Lamek, and Friday are the specialist consultants, and there are more. And then there are other people who are clinicians available, a lot of people who will be accessible to you. Just use them for anything medical related. And there's information about what happened, what you should do when you have malaria, or when you think you have malaria, or any of these conditions, schistosomiasis, or diarrhea, or any other illness. UNC project is pretty much a hospital. It will treat you, and they will really help you easily than if you go to another hospital, because then you have to deal with the whole system. While at UNC project, you get a fast track access to probably the best trained doctors as well available. Maybe a special mention to HIV, that if you think that you've been exposed through occupation exposure or just sexual contact, then the first thing to think about is post-exposure prophylaxis, where you get antiretroviral therapy for several days, and that is very good at preventing HIV infection if you think you're exposed. If you don't think you're exposed, then there's no reason to have post-exposure prophylaxis. Most people have never taken post-exposure prophylaxis, but in the hospital setting, you might have a needle prick injury when you are helping a patient, and then you don't know their status. First thing is to ask them to get a test, but if they don't want to get a test, then you just assume and you go look for pre-exposure prophylaxis. But sometimes when you test the patient is negative, then you don't have to take it. So sometimes it happens that you are exposed to HIV through your work in the hospital, or sexual contact, casual sexual contact that you've had. So first thing to think about when that happens, PEP. It's available. It's available at UNC project. It's available at the hospital. It's available 24/7. You have to take the first dose within 3 hours of the contact. Oh no, not 3 hours, 3 days. So the earlier the better. So don't be shy or afraid to go and ask for pre-exposure prophylaxis. You might as well just go to the UNC clinic and call any of these people or the main hospital. They'll be provided, and it's free. No, it's free and it's available for everybody. And it's available in the pharmacy. You can take their numbers while you're there, because you'll be sharing the same living quarters. So, yeah, it's available there. Yes, that is it about this document. They are going to show you this again. And if you don't have it, I will send it out and you just go through 27 pages of new things to read. Thank you. Any questions? Perfect. 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 Now we are going into the good stuff. Juba is going to introduce some Chichewa and something we can practice to get around Malawi.
Take a break, 5 minutes. Yes, please. Go ahead. And
Which one is it? Hi, Zoom. Sorry, I forgot. Oh, do you people on Zoom? Hi, people. McKenna and Stephanie, people on a break. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, for 5 minutes, they'll be back. Yeah. This is Ada's laptop. Hmm. Auguria. Is it good for a interface? Was it?
Well, but so. Nadhani wengine kwenye fanya. Okay. Okay, guys. So now this is the Chichewa part. I would like to ask for your engagement because we're going to practice most of the things we're going to talk about. I'll introduce them, a greeting or a phrase, and then with your partner, you would practice. So at least two, I guess. You said Robbie, right? Yes. Please move forward so that at least, and then move closer because I'll need you to speak to your partner. So. Hey. First, Takulandirani. Chichewa is read as it is, as you see it. So ta, like tie takulandirani, is like we welcome you. You hear this a lot. Everywhere you go, people will be like, Takulandirani. From the airport there, you see this phrase, Takulandirani. We welcome you. When you get to someone's house, Takulandirani. When you, in someone's office, even, Takulandirani. So this phrase is very common. It's used a lot. We'll get to practice it later, but this is just an introduction. The next one is morning. Morning is more like hello. It's a greeting. This is a greeting. Morning is incomplete on its own. It's like I'm just telling you that I'm greeting you, but how are you greeting me? You know? So you say muli bwanji. Muli bwanji. How are you? Muli bwanji is how are you? So you'd say morning is like I'm just saying hello. How are you? So morning, muli bwanji. You don't have to say both of them. We will emphasize mostly on the muli bwanji later in the presentation. But this is just a general gist on what we're going to talk about. So the objectives of this session, by the end, we should be able to know a brief history of the Chichewa, its vowels, the alphabet, common pronouns, and then you should be able to introduce yourself in Chichewa, greet another person in Chichewa. That is vital. You will need this, and you'll feel happy when you say it to people. So by the time we leave, we should be able to say this and practice. Chichewa is the national language, and it's spoken by more than 65% of Malawians. There are other languages, so many other languages, more than 10 languages, but Chichewa is the most common. English is the official language, so at the hospital, your colleagues will be speaking English. But you see that amongst themselves, they're also speaking a lot of Chichewa because it's also official. So at the end of the day, you will not have a barrier when talking to your colleagues because they will speak English, but Chichewa is also preferred by a lot of people. Chichewa is the Bantu language. It's one of the languages that are related. It's a family of languages. So it's related to other languages in Africa, different countries. Other languages are spoken in Malawi, Chiao, that is near the lake in the southern region, Chitumbuka in the northern region. If you remember the map of Malawi, in the north part, they're speaking Chitumbuka, and then there are other languages. Southern part is where there's Chiao and other languages. But around you, you hear a lot of people speaking many other languages like Arabic, or you have Swahili, we have people from Somalia or Zimbabwe. So people are speaking their different languages, but what is common is Chichewa. Where is Chichewa spoken? It's our main language in Malawi, but it's also spoken in Zambia, the eastern part of Zambia, and some parts of Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and Tanzania. Those are just the neighboring countries that are also speaking a bit of it. But I think Malawi is the main country where Chichewa is spoken. The pronunciation now of the words. The alphabet has 24 letters. There's no Q, there's no X. So everything else in the English alphabet, but just no Q, no X. There are 5 vowels. The difference, the same vowels like in English, but you say them as you speak them. Like this is A, E, O, U. Yeah? So this is not U, this is U. This is E, this is O, A, A. Yeah? This is crucial because now when you read it, those sounds have to be heard. You're reading it as A, as A, E, O, U. We're together so far? Okay. So now the words, when you're adding the other words, how do they sound? Ba, because now I've added the ba, be, bi, bo, bu. Now this is a word. Now you are reading it as A. This is A, ba, bo. A, ba, bo. Abambo is a man. So this is da, de, di, do, do. Ma, me, mi, mo, mu. Amai. Amai. This is a woman. Ababo is a man. Amai is a woman. But the idea is you read it as you see it. Yeah? English changes. It's more difficult to learn English because every word can sound different. A they and then can be a they somewhere else. But here, everything is as you see it. Some common pronouns now. Ine. Ine, me, or I. So ine, me, or I. Iwe. Iwe. Iwe is you, a peer or a young person. You're all not old people here, so I would call you Iwe. Yeah? You. But if it's an older person or someone you really respect, like an official person, is Inu. Might be a younger person, but is in an official setting. So you don't say Iwe, you say Inu. You are safer going with Inu for everyone. You might take away Iwe. You might don't even need to remember Iwe because you can use Inu for everyone, for a younger person, for an older person. But if you want to differentiate, Iwe is for a young person, but Inu is for younger person. Inu is also for a group of people. So in English, you could be one person, you guys together. But in Chichewa, it's different. Iwe for you, one person, Inu as a group, Inu as an older person. So Inu is just safer for everything. For you as one person, for you as a group, for you an older person, or you as a younger person. Yeah. So yeah, Inu shows more respect. It is safe to use even when referring to youth or babies as compared to Iwe. Ife, us. Ife is us. So remember, Ine, me, Inu, you, Ife, us, with me included in the group. Yeah? Okay. Yes.
That's actually they need to be. That's the easiest way to fix something.
Yeah. If you call
You can use do it when
yeah. So Stefan, just remember Inu. Yeah. So your boss is Inu because they're your boss. It's respectful, it's official, it's more higher. Now, let's introduce each other and practice. Introduction is known as kudziwana. Kudziwana. Yes, kudziwana. Introduction. So I'll start. Dzina langa ndi Juba Kafumba. Okay, just Juba. Dzina langa ndi Juba. Nanga inu. So I'm saying my name and then I'm also asking about you. Okay? My name is Juba. What about you? Dzina langa. So dzina is name. English, you say my name. Here we say name my. That's how it's somehow a little different. So you start with dzina langa ndi Juba. Nanga inu. Then the other person also says, Dzina langa ndi so. That's it. You don't need to say nanga inu already because the person who started has already said their name. Yeah? Are we clear here? Yeah? Okay. So let's practice. And I want to hear it because if we don't hear it, then how do we know that we are learning it? So yes, that's why we're in pairs. I want you to introduce yourself to your friends, and then you ask them also nanga inu, and then they should say also Dzina langa ndi something. Yeah? Okay. Go ahead. Yes, John and Magni will be going around. They'll practice. They'll say to the group. I don't know, my two people, can you hear me?
Are they able to hear each other? Somehow.
Okay. You know, try it.
Okay. When they break, that means they have to come back.
for every you, they can just be in one, or you can just put them. No, put them in the room for 30 minutes. I can't go in them.
But then they won't be able to hear you.
Ah, okay.
They're able to talk amongst themselves.
Yeah, they can. Okay, manage the Zoom. Talk to them. Type. Okay. Okay, guys, we're good. Are we confident saying this now? Dzina langa ndi Jennifer nanga inu. Dzina langa ndi so. Yeah, we will build up on this. So we need to be confident in this before adding another sentence to it. So are we okay? All right. Now I'm going to talk about where I come from. Dzina langa ndi Juba. Ndimachokela ku Malawi. Nanga inu. Yeah, my name is Juba. I come from Malawi. What about you? Dzina langa ndi Juba. Ndimachokela ku Malawi. Yeah. So are we able to read it as it is, right? I think the reading is fine, yeah? Yes. So now we'll practice again. Dzina langa ndi Juba. Ndimachokela ku Malawi. Nanga inu. So the other person has to also say dzina langa ndi John. Ndimachokela ku North Carolina. Yeah? Longer sentence, but we have covered the first part, so we should be able to do this. Yeah? That's it. Do it. Okay. Okay. So, yes, she asked, okay, so how do you say nice to meet you? So in Malawi, in Chichewa language, when you say nice to meet you, it's kind of a longer sentence, which people don't really say it all the time. Like, Nawonda Wudziwani. It's a very long sentence. So what they usually say is Zikomo. Zikomo is thank you, but you can use Zikomo for everything. Zikomo is your go-to. You enter you're knocking, Zikomo. Like when you're knocking, right? You want to enter someone's door, Zikomo. Okay. You. Yes. So it could be pardon, it can be used as pardon, excuse me, or thank you. It's all zikomo. So even the nice to meet you after you have done the introduction, someone has also told you about Zina Langa Juba Nanga Zina Langa Stephanie. Zikomo, zikomo. Yeah. So zikomo in this case will encompass saying it was nice to meet you, thank you for making the introduction. It's everything. Okay. Because if you have to say it was very nice to meet you, it would be a very long sentence, which in everyday conversations, people are not really saying it, but they're saying zikomo. Yeah. So but why are you approaching someone?
You are sitting there. I want to sit next to you. Behind you. Yeah. Person behind you. Like, yeah, behind you. And someone. Simple. You get it.
Yeah. Zikomo. Zikomo is the phrase for everything. Yeah. So now, before we go to the next section of still greetings, or of greetings now, because this is introduction, we still want to hear it out loud. Quickly, I think we'll start from there, say it out loud, the Zinalanga, and then your answer, include the Zikomo. Yeah? Please start. No, you got it right. People are forgetting their own names. So what we've done here is a mix. Some of us were asking the other person, Nanga India. Some of us just say and they say before. That is also very good in a setting, let's say, where you're in a community or a conference, everyone is introducing themselves. So you say, my name is Juba, I come from Ohio, thank you. Zinalanga Hero, Ohio, yeah? Because in a conference, you're not asking the next person, right? So you will not say Nangai. You will just say about yourself and say people. So we all got one aspect, right? Yeah. So you can do one-on-one introduction, introduction, but then you can also introduce yourself in a community setting, in a conference, or anywhere you go in a group. Yeah? Okay. Yes, please manage Zoom. I had written to say they can. So more greetings. This picture we've seen already about greeting someone. So I'll show you a little short video of someone else also talking about these greetings. I think I like her way of explaining things. So But then there's no audio. Yeah. But if there's no audio, then it doesn't. Yeah.
There's no audio, guys.
Okay, there's no audio, but and we share the slides. There's a 2-minute video that you can go back to look at. It's also someone practicing the greetings, saying it. And then more greetings. So it's there, but we can just continue now. Okay. Malonje. Malonje is greeting. And then John mentioned about 3 types of greetings. Greeting someone in the morning, greeting someone in the afternoon, greeting someone in the evening, or just in general. Think of it the same concept about English. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or just general, how are you? So it's the same that we have in Chichewa. General greetings are used when you're meeting the person for the first time, which you use a lot because you be meeting people for the first time. Or when it has taken you a while since you last met the person. A while could be even a day or 2 days or a week you haven't seen that person, so you use a general greeting. And then you have morning greetings that are valid until 12, and then only when meeting the person for the first time on that day. That's a morning greeting. So you will not greet them again with this greeting. If I've met you at 7 a.m. and I meet you again at 10 a.m., I'm not greeting you again with this morning greeting because we've met. And afternoon greetings meant to be used after lunch, through the evening, and then also use anytime in the morning after you first greet a person. So when we practice, you understand what I'm talking about. General greetings, when you're meeting someone for the first time. Morning, Mai. Do you remember who a Mai is? A woman, a bambo, a man. So morning, Mai, bambo. You can shorten it. When you put a at the beginning, I'm just giving it more respect. Mai, like a woman. Mai is also the same. So you can remove the or you can put the no problem. Moni, Mai, or Moni, bambo. Zikomo. So remember, morning is like hello. So I'm like, hello, Mai, hello, bambo. But hello is not really a greeting. I'm just letting you know that I'm speaking to you in Malawian context. Hello is not a greeting. It's just like an introduction to the greeting. So, Moni Mai. The Mai answers, Zikomo, Muli, Bwanji. Muli, Bwanji. Muli Bwanji is how are you? Yeah? So first I've said hello. Then I'm saying, how are you? Then the other person, the Mai answers, Ndilibwino, Kaya Inu. Kaya Inu is the same concept as Nanga Inu. Yeah? Because I'm asking you as well. How about you? Ndilibwino, Kaya Inu. I am fine. How about you? Ndilibwino, Zikomo. Yeah? Moni, Bambo. Zikomo, Muli, Bwanji. Ndilibwino, Kaya Inu. Ndilibwino, Zikomo. Ndilibwino, I am fine. So the whole greeting is, how are you? I am fine. Do we understand? We need to practice. So there's 1, 2, 1, 2. First person is in black, the second person. Yeah, let's do it before we add in the baby. Yeah. Okay. So this is the same slide with English. I didn't show it. Okay. So we're on is carrying a baby. So you need to ask how it's baby. Yeah. So we have this covered. We have greeted the mother. Muriwanji, we know kaya ino. So a baby is mwana, mwana. Yes. Mwana. So mwana alibanji. Yeah. Remember when I was asking the woman, it's Muliwanji, you, Muliwanji. Yeah. But then mwana aliwanji. Yeah. If you are a woman, I'm asking about Abambo aliwanji. Yeah. I'm asking about the man who is there, but you're speaking for the Abambo, right? Or Amai aliwanji. But in this case, we want mwana. The woman is carrying a baby. Mwana aliwanji. It doesn't have to be a baby, any child. Be 10-year-old, but they're speaking on behalf of this mwana. Yes. First person, then going to ask mwana aliwanji. Ali bwino. Ali bwino. Zikomo. Yeah. Go. Mhm. Yes, that's right. Yes. In the future, that's So have we tried asking about another person from Moana? Like Moana, yeah? You can replace Moana with Abambo, I, John, Mercy, whoever you want to. The answer is the same. So, yeah, okay, so guys. All right, so we have already done this, asking about John Alibwanji, Abambo Alibwanji, yeah, Alibwino. I agree with people that, oh, I'm not sure. Now we are going to agree in the morning when you wake up. The one we practice is general. Muli Wanji. Right? You will hear that a lot. Muli Wanji. Ndiri Bwino. Kaya Inu. Now we're going to in the morning. Good morning. I'd say. Okay. Let's use Mwadzuka Banji. Good. Yeah, it's supposed to be how happy. Mwadzuka Banji. Mwadzuka. Kudzuka is wake up. Zuka is wake up. So Mwadzuka Banji. Chichewa, you add these prefixes either at the beginning or at the end for the person. So Zuka is wake up. Now I want to ask you. So that's why we have the Mwadzuka Banji. Banji is the half. So Mwadzuka Banji. Ndadzuka Bwino. Ndadzuka Bwino. Kaya inu. Yeah. Yeah, but if there's a lot of prefixes that you add for when I speak about myself, about another person as a group. So what we're teaching here is pretty much what you'll be asked you. Because if we bring in asking about other people, it will be Is it the kaya inupas? We know good. It's good. Fine. Much that one you are not or you're in a very respectful way. You're not saying down the same or me as a person. That's one that's even scenario where like focus on you. So Mazuka Wanji. Yeah. Mazuka Wanji. That's you asking something else or someone else asking you. You go to work. No, Mazuka Mazuka we know Mazuka Wanji. Then know people. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Yeah. Okay, perfect. This is the morning. Let's move on to okay, afternoon. So or evening time after lunch? Mhm. Okay. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Sycamore, yes. Thank you guys. That is very perfect. So, Suela is like, how has your day been? You know? So anything after lunch, except, no, I know the time for morning. Just ask, you know, how has your day been? So, Maswera Bwanji. That's where I be, you know? In the morning, Matuka Bwanji. You've been sleeping, so I want to know, Matuka Bwanji. Ndatuka bwino, kaya ino. Maswera Bwanji, that's where I be, no? Kaya inu zikomo. Okay, so the very first greeting, what was it? Do we remember? Muli Wanji. That would be very common, even more than Matuka Bwanji, Maswera Bwanji. Muli Wanji. Hold on to that. Hold on to that. Everywhere you go, Muli, Muli Wanji. Yes, Muli Wanji. Yeah. Mhm. The back. Okay. Okay. The next one. Morning. Right. So it will be that fun, that spontaneous, come to you. Yeah. Come to you. So, as many times as you can. Stop love. Don't be shy. You're very happy. Yes. Then what time you learn about? You might not remember it, but this then would fly people like one one one. Like here's the thing. Stop. Yeah. Like that. That's fine. That's fine. Well, like, you know, it's more. Yeah. But that's take your no, it will. Yeah. It's fine. But yeah. Okay, guys, we'll stop there. We'll send you these slides. Please practice them. They're easy to follow because they have black and red, black and red. Say them out loud. You'll find that they come easy and it's not complicated. And people get excited to talk to you. Well, don't be shy to come back. Even if you forget one word, they'll help you to remember it. Yes, you passed the baton. Everyone, my name is Ada, and you all have been, I guess, you got emails from me yesterday. I'm the Associate Director of the African. Thanks for joining us. We did have roughly about 35 people signed up.
We were actually looking for 15 people, so I think it's a good size because it's usually better when it's intimate and a small group of people to kind of walk around the workshop. The history of the Chichewa and the Malawi workshop goes far back as 7 years ago when Irving Hoffman, the then associate director, asked us to support their fellows who Malawi over the summer. So that's how this whole idea of having a Malawi cultural and language workshop happened just before the end of the year. And so this is probably like the 8th installment of the workshop. And over time, we started incorporating our students, but from Malawi, because in the past, we get external facilitators who are in Malawi, but these are fellow students like you. And I want to say thank you. She just had a baby, by the way. So she has a 2-week-old baby there with his grandmother. So I know how hard it is for you to find time to be with us and deliver this work. Thank you.